The Ruthless Aggression era is so weird because depending when you started watching wrestling, it totally changes your feelings. If you're an Attitude Era person, you do not like it, whereas if you did start in the early 2000s, it is the best thing ever. Either way, there are a bunch of characters who have vanished from existence, and it's time to give them their due. I am Simon Miller. Let's go. Pretend Casey James. So Casey James wasn't nobody. He trained alongside CM Punk and Adam Pearce. He was part of the class. He too made it to OVW before being called up in August 2006, where he teamed with Idol Stevens, who would go on to become Damien Sandow. They even had Michelle McCool as their manager. I think this was more a vehicle for Michelle, though, who got injured in 2007, because after that, this tag team went totally missing. WWE even moved him back to OVW, which is never great. And his next role was an enhancement talent on WWE's version of ECW. Now look, that is still a cool role to have when you think about it, but I don't think it's what James expected considering what he'd already done. Yeah, soon after that he got released. I do have to say I feel like if we had been a decade prior, KC would have done great in WCW. Just look at the guy. Number 7, Marcus Corvon. So this one is actually huge. Marcus Corvon was TNA's Monty Brown, and listen to me, in TNA, that guy was crazy over. He made the Pounce famous, and maybe nobody has done it better since, and in 2006 WWE came a-calling. This was not a surprise, he had earned it. He was also thrown into ECW as part of the New Breed faction, and this was the first mistake. Corvon was still great, but he was put in a bad spot. Vince McMahon didn't care about that promotion, so he never saw the power that was just waiting to be elevated. Come June 2007, Marcus took some time off for personal reasons, and clearly these were quite serious. Soon after, he retired from wrestling altogether. Number 8, The Dicks. Well, here we go. It's the bad times. Because Todd and Chad Dick debuted on SmackDown in 2005, and they were basically Chippendales. This is what was going to turn the business around. They were also drowning in baby oil and were called the Dicks. That wasn't meant to be deep either. WWE just wanted to name a team after some penises. Even Vince McMahon lost interest in this after a short while because they did get released, and their total time on the main roster lasted 4 months. Not sure why we decided to do this, especially because adult themes aside, this was straight out of the mid-90s. Their whole role was mostly to be scared of the boogeyman too. No wonder nobody remembers this. Number 7, the Heart Throbs. And speaking of the Dicks, this was basically the same damn thing. The major difference with Antonio and Romeo was they had a manager known as the Pocket Rocket. Oh, how I wish I was making this up. We have talked too much about groinal regions. They debuted in April 2005, so just before the Dicks, and then they got released on the same day. The WWE just went through their roster and released anything that was kinky. It's why tag team wrestling was just an afterthought during the Ruthless Aggression era, as there just was no plan. We threw things at the wall, we just waited to see what was going to happen. The Heart Throbs mostly appeared on Sunday Night Heat 2, so even when they did arrive, they were basically just hanging out in the background. In all of that training, and then you get this? Sheesh. Number 6, Colin Delaney. So here's a fun fact for you, my friends. I was part of the Last Match Wrestling Rock Tour across the east side of the USA in 2024. One of the guest wrestlers was Colin Delaney. He's a very nice guy. He was brought in late 2007 for WWE's ECW brand. And his biggest issue was he didn't look like a Vince McMahon wrestler. How ridiculous is that? Colin tried everything as he even turned heel, but again, because he couldn't bench press a car, in August 2008, Delaney was let go. Not sure he ever even got a proper chance, was just a name in the mist. It is cool that he's still going though, because it goes to show, if you do indeed want to be a wrestler, there is a life outside of WWE. Number 5, Luther Reigns. The older brother of Roman. That's of course a lie. It does connect to our last entry, however, because this was the total opposite. Given that Luther Reigns was huge, he got a job, he ticked that box. Look at this photograph, though. That is indeed Reigns slamming Eddie Guerrero on a 2004 SmackDown, and don't pretend you remember this. Guerrero was a major star by this point, so Luther was being used. Sort of. He also debuted at the time as Kurt Angle's assistant because he was the GM, so he did have a platform. There, though, we just didn't do much of anything. With that said, come 2005, he did face The Undertaker at the No Way Out pay-per-view. I honestly don't remember that. I went and watched the match too. I felt like I'd been tricked. Bruce Pritchard on his podcast talked about Reigns and admitted they were desperate for him to click because of his look. But let's be honest, He did not. Number 4, Amy Weber. So there is a lot more to this story, as after Amy Weber was released, she claimed Randy Orton and Edge bullied her backstage. Now, we don't know the truth, but it's important to talk about, and it all sort of feels like it was reflected in her WWE run. She did arrive as part of the 2004 Diva Search before joining JBL's cabinet as the image consultant, but yeah. In the locker room, apparent arguments were happening with Edge and Orton, as well as the fact that Weber was not happy with her pay. I suppose all of that meant she ran foul of management as she was gone in 2005 when, yep, Jillian Hall was brought in to replace her. And that you likely do remember. For those who enjoy the trivia as well, Amy Weber wrestled one match on TV. Number 3, Sylvester Tur. So this is another guy I actually do recall, and I have absolutely no idea why. It could come down to the fact that WWE pushed Sylvester Tur as the next Kurt Angle, and we gotta stop doing that. The truth is there isn't a next Kurt Angle. He was one of a kind. He also arrived on SmackDown alongside Elijah Burke, so yeah, there you go. It was just another random tag team that we held together because why not? Now, Tur was awesome on the mat and even faced Kurt in 1992 in an actual wrestling match where he lost. But that's fine. Angle won a gold medal with a broken frickin' neck. You can't just expect to be good at sports entertainment though, and old Sly never really figured it out. It looked worrying early on as he was moved from the Blue Brand to ECW. And while he did win a lot of matches in early 2007, he found himself on the chopping block. The truth was he was just another face in the crowd. Boy, how did we have enough of those. Number 2, Rebecca Di Pietro. WWE hired Rebecca Di Pietro as she was an ex-Playboy model, and they thought she could go from backstage interviewer to an in-ring performer. That was the deal. It was pretty obvious straight away too, because even though she was eliminated from the 2006 Diva Search, WWE still hired her and sent her to Deep South Wrestling to start learning the ropes. As the company wanted to keep her on TV, she was moved to ECW as a behind-the-scenes presenter, which brings us to Cyber Sunday 2006. Rebecca was used as an outside enforcer during the Lumberjill match between Mickie James and Lita, and then nothing. The thing is, it was Pietro who asked for her release in 2007, so take that for what it's worth. Maybe she knew something we didn't. Number 1, Ssakoda. Well, at least he had an awesome name. Ryan Ssakoda was seen on WWE TV at first as a judge when Triple H and Scott Steiner had that bodybuilding pose down. Which has to be one of the oddest wrestling debuts ever. He was then sent to developmental before arriving on SmackDown alongside Jimmy Wang Yang, who at the time was called Akio. They were also the henchmen for Tajiri. This went nowhere as Ryan was released in 2004, but he wasn't happy. He sued the WWE, saying they had medical records in relation to his brain health, which was subsequently ignored. And that is serious stuff. The court dismissed it as there was no evidence, and the sad news is Ssakoda passed away in 2021 at just 48 years old. That is way too young. Obviously, Wang Yang would become Wang Yang, and Tajiri is still busy today. I mean, all of this was such a strange time for WWE. They really didn't know what to do post the Attitude Era. I mean, at least they've figured it out today. Know of any other forgotten favorites from the Ruthless Aggression era? Make sure you drop their names in the comment below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then you can click the video on the screen for yet more forgotten faces from different WWE eras. But otherwise, take care, my friends. And I will speak to you again soon.